Welcome back. Welcome back. We are in the cut, as it were. Triple single. We are back. The playoffs are almost over. We are up to the finals now, and we got some ground to make up for it. So today, we're gonna spend a little bit of time recapping what we've missed, uh, listing the best players who have played in these playoffs, and then eventually we're gonna get more into the nitty gritty of the specifics of the Mavericks versus Celtics in the finals. And so I guess we can just start with recapping the playoffs as a whole. You guys want to start Eastern Conference? I feel like that might be the less eventful one.
Yeah, sure. I mean, the first round was I don't know. Not that there wasn't a lot to talk about, but what there was to talk about wasn't that exciting. Just like a lot of injuries, and then the Cavs played the Magic, and nobody really liked that much.
Which is crazy because that was actually kind of a good series. Like, um, one of the more competitive ones, maybe for some of
Really
the
very
wrong reasons.
competitive. I'm not sure about the quality of basketball being played, but it was a competitive series.
I will say some things to extrapolate from that. Paolo Banchero had one of the worst playoff debut games I've ever seen. What did he have, like 10 turnovers in his first game?
It was
Yeah,
nine,
it
but it
was.
should have been 10. Like there was a play where he just lost the ball and they counted it as a shot. So yeah,
And then he played really fucking well
He had a
for
he
the
had a
rest of it.
fantastic series. Like
Yeah, he
probably
which
one of the best first option debut series for like a young guy that we've seen in recent memory. I can't think of the
yeah,
last
I
time
mean,
someone played that well.
if we're just looking at raw numbers, I mean, he's always kind of struggled with the 3-point shot, but in this series, 27 points per game, 45% from the field, 40% from three on 7 attempts a game, or sorry, 5.7 attempts a game, 8.5 rebounds, 4 assists. Turned the ball over a lot,
I'm
but
not gonna lie, I thought
um,
he was just gonna suck. Kind of like I
yeah.
I really
well,
didn't
and
think he was gonna play well.
that's okay. And I say that because I feel like the discourse that spawned from that first game was like people victory lapping about him being bad, and it's
Me.
like
Me, yep, I definitely yeah.
he's
I took I took
he's
a
a
few
rookie.
laps.
He's a rookie first option, and that's just the type of stuff that you have to go through. Um, some people it's a little worse than others, but like you really can't point to any all-time great player in their first playoff run and not look at least like a couple of games and say, yeah, you were like not you weren't just bad, like inefficient, like you did pretty much everything that you could have wrong, and that's okay. He's already grown. He's growing. That's how you get better, not just at basketball, but in life. You got to go through things, and it hardens your shell. And I mean, through the next couple of games, he looked much more ready for a lot of the coverages they were throwing at him as far as scoring and also like facilitating. Like it's just about getting his legs under him as a first option with that type of that type of attention thrown his way. Because if he played like how everybody kind of expected him to play for the rest of the series, this would not have gone to 7 games. I mean, Franz Wagner, let's just be blunt, was fucking terrible.
I mean, honestly, like the Magic really had no other offensive production besides him. I mean, the Magic are like obviously a bad offensive team, but like they really didn't show up on a level that I didn't expect either. Like Franz was bad, Suggs shot pretty bad. Who else? Like obviously John Isaac isn't giving you anything. Fultz was like okay in his role, I guess. Wendell Carter sucked. It was just bad all across the board for the Magic.
I mean, they came pretty close to not showing up on any level. I think through 6 games they had an offensive rating under 100, which is just like unbelievable for today's NBA.
Yeah,
That's like you just can't win like that. Even though at that point in the series they were 3-3, it's just like that's not good basketball.
That's the craziest thing is they
Yeah.
almost did win like that. Like this was a 7 game series. They won a game where Donovan Mitchell had 50 points, and like we can get into
And
that
the
more
rest of the
too.
Cavaliers had like what 35. Like
oh
Right.
boy.
Like
yeah. I liked
my
um I liked Evan Mobley in that series and the other one too. I think he showed out. Uh,
Yeah,
the most relative to expectations of anyone on that Cavs team.
I was really worried about him. Um, like I would be worried about any player coming. Like he basically didn't play most of the season.
Hmm.
And he's already had kind of his offensive struggles and question marks. He just looked very aggressive and more importantly, very composed in the shots that he was taking. Where it's not, I didn't really see a lot of times in the games that he played well where he looked out of control or like he was unsure of like what to go to or like where to find his spots. You know, he just seemed very under control, which is important for him,
Yeah, and the
given the
defense
type
was
of
everything you
player.
wanted it to be, too.
Oh yeah,
It,
I mean
it was
that's
he
not going
looked like the
anywhere.
best defensive player on the floor in both series
Especially,
for me.
I think in game 5 he was like super dominant inside. I think that was the first or second game that they played with Jared Allen out, and he was sharp at center. Like he
Hmm.
was really
Oh
good.
yeah,
Is
oh yeah.
this the last game that we've seen of this Cavs core together? Because there's a lot
Yes.
I think
of
so.
like drama and stuff coming out. Uh, Pretty much since he was drafted and had kind of shown himself to be the player that he is now. There's been rumors about are they going to move on from Jarrett Allen, who is a very good player in his own right, but you know, just he's the only player maybe. I guess now maybe they don't feel that way about Darius Garland anymore, but previously he was maybe the only player who you felt like you could move, who was also of value. Um, Now there's stuff coming out about if Donovan Mitchell extends, Darius Garland and Clutch are going to seek a trade request. I really don't like, especially with small market teams. I really don't like fear mongering, like player movement, as soon as something bad happens. But I mean, this is just kind of the news that's being presented, and the conversations about pretty much since he landed there about is Donovan Mitchell going to request a trade? He wants to go to New York. He wants to go to Miami. XYZ. All that other stuff. I really don't like engaging in that type of conversation because I feel like that's how a lot of small market teams get done with their stars. But I mean, it does seem like there's maybe some credence to it that there wasn't with some of this other stuff.
I think, and I mean, like, granted, you know, like we can let's put the injuries aside for a second. I think the Cavs really needed to take a step forward this season on the whole to kind of cement Mitchell sign his extension and the sort of direction of their franchise. But I feel like there are now more questions after this run than there were before, and that's kind of problematic for them.
Yeah, I mean, there's the main question is Darius Garland good at basketball? Because like
Right.
the that's a question you didn't have less. Like I feel like if not for his insane, really almost inexplicable regression, um, you would totally be ready to run it back because Mobley looks better and different. Donovan uh, looks better. Not really different, but like the defensive effort is more there than it's really ever been. Max Struess looks like the wing that they were kind of waiting for, in that he can play basketball on both sides. Um, like if it weren't for A, the huge Mobley injury, and then B, whatever was going on with Garland for the entirety of the season, I feel like you'd be totally fine, but you just aren't. And so much rests on him going from like a top 25 player to like, is he in our future plans?
Yeah,
You
like there's
know,
questions about
it's
Garland's ability, there's questions about the Mobley Allen pairing. They have like locker room questions about, you know, guys feeling a type of way about Jarrett Allen not
oh, and
playing.
then JB got fired too.
I mean, yeah, there's that. I mean, I feel like we all
Forgot
kind of
about
knew that
that.
was gonna happen, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's just a lot with the Cavs, and I I wouldn't be surprised if at the very least Mitchell tests the waters and like sees what's available in free agency.
Yeah, and the JB Bickerstaff thing. is why I say I think there's a little more credence to this than with other stuff is because um I mean, head coaching these days is kind of just like a revolving door job if you don't win a championship. Sometimes even if you do, you don't have a very long leash. Um and so usually if an organization realizes they need large systemic overhauls, it's a lot easier to replace a head coach, at least from an organizational perspective, than to trade one of the, building blocks of your franchise, and kind of reorchestrate the whole roster. And so I would hope, depending on who they pick for the head coaching vacancy, they at least give this another shot. Because let me go to bat for Darius Garland really quick, dude. This guy got the shit beat out of him all year. Um, I I know you know that. It's just really weird seeing people talk about him online and stuff where, or like in the media, where they think that he just like forgot how to play basketball overnight or something. And I mean, granted, he was just not good. Like I'm not gonna sit up here and tell you that he was good by any stretch of the imagination, but like injuries this season alone, he fucked up his hamstring twice back to back, missed almost 3 weeks. He fucked up his neck, missed another week. Um, and then obviously in the middle of the season, he broke his jaw and missed like 3 months from December 15th to March 28th.
He had the thing with his eye too, right?
Yeah, he had that thing with his eye. Um, he messed up his ankle after he got back from his jaw and missed another 2 weeks. And then he had some back injury on April 13th that he played through at the end of the season. So it's just like he on paper, if you look at it, he played 57 games, but it's like not all of these are things you just recover from and like you're good as soon as you come back. Like a lot of these are, um, he's coming back because he realizes how important he is to this group, and so I want to see him have another year because I mean he looked fantastic last season and the season prior. I was a big Darius Garland advocate the past 2 seasons. I thought he was phenomenal. So I'm not ready to be out on him just because of this year. So I would like to see them keep things together a little longer just because of the Mobley injury, because of the Garland injuries.
But you know they won't.
I mean, this is a player league, first of all. So if Darius Garland doesn't want to be somewhere, he will not be there.
Yeah.
And also at a fan level, at a player level, and at an organizational level, this league is obsessed with player movement. And like I'm part of that too. Um, that's just kind of the way things go. Sometimes people don't really stick around in one spot for 6, 7, 8 years unless you're the best player. Usually, that's really rare.
I would listen. I would love to talk about how I still believe in Darius Garland going forward, but we do have like 12 other series we need to talk about also.
Yeah, my fault. My fault.
Although not that many. Like there are a lot that we just don't need to talk about really. Like let's get the quick ones out of the way. The Celtics, they beat the Heat. They're better.
Awesome. Watch the Heat.
The Pacers beat the Bucks
Cavs.
because they died. A lot of
Shout out to Chris Middleton. Shout out to Chris Middleton. That's some shit I can talk about.
He tried. He did try.
Yeah.
Man.
There's just health gap, unfortunately.
Yeah,
the Nuggets beat the Lakers
unfortunately, many
better.
such cases of health gap.
I need to look at like a full bracket, but like I think, I mean, it's the NBA playoffs. A lot of the first round series are just going to boil down to.
Pels got swept without Zion. Lakers got their moral victory.
Don't let us
I don't
one.
think we don't need to get too into any of that stuff.
We can. I think the two other series that are worth talking about is Knicks Sixers and Mavericks Clippers.
Yeah,
Knicks Sixers was unironically one of the greatest first round series that has ever been played.
No, that was an incredible
sick.
series.
Yeah.
That was so fucking fun. And
the Tyrese Maxey Tracy McGrady game, the Dante DiVincenzo game winner. Really pick your poison. Like
the double bang.
So much, man.
Yeah, it was so crazy. I actually
Embiid playing
wish
his
we
best
could have
playoff series in his career.
Yeah, before you got here, actually, me and Connor were talking about that before the show, and we're doing a thing in like a little bit about like all playoff teams, right? And I was so impressed with Joel Embiid because I felt like, and tell me if this was your experience too, Sherry, but like I felt like every time he went to the bench, it was like a sigh of relief. I was like, oh, thank God. Like we can
Yeah, I
start
mean,
winning now.
we killed their backups. Like
Like
any
every
minute
time,
that like Paul Reed was on the floor, it was just like it was a frying session. Like it was
yeah,
they couldn't score
like
at
we,
all.
we
Like
couldn't score in the paint,
they couldn't
and then
score
they
from
couldn't
anywhere.
score without him.
Like
Yeah,
Maxi when Embiid like Maxi to his credit played a great fucking series. When Embiid was on the bench, he really like could not do anything at all, and that I feel was that's like gonna be his next step as a star level player is like figuring out how to run an offense himself because he looked completely lost without Joel. Like they couldn't
yeah.
stagger them at all.
I was saying it felt to me like we saw like Tyrese Maxey take the step, but the step he took into is basically being their version of Jamal Murray, where when he's on the floor with his superstar big man, it looks like he could do anything, and then the second the superstar big man comes off the floor, it's like
Like
it
like
feels like
what the fuck is
he
this
just has
guy?
so much less juice.
Yeah.
And the Sixers don't have the luxury the Nuggets have, where they have like all these other incredible role players that are you can totally trust to do anything and like lock down anyone and shoot the lights out. Like they just have guys.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I think if this iteration of the Sixers is going to be successful, they're going to need Maxi to be able to like buoy the team in a meaningful way when Embiid's off the floor. Because again, this is a small sample size stat, but it is the sample is outweighed by just how demonstrative the difference is. I think the Sixers with Embiid on were like versus us, they were like a +5, +6, +7. Like they were mostly hanging with us. Sometimes they'd outscore us, sometimes they wouldn't. Um in the 45, 50 minutes with Embiid off the floor and Maxi on, they were I think -55,
Yeah, which is
which
insane considering the fact that the series it was like a +1 for us like across the whole
yeah.
series.
I mean,
So
he
they
played like
lost the
40
series like
minutes a
almost
game, too.
entirely off the back of those like 40ish minutes where Joel Embiid sat.
Absolutely insane.
He played 41 minutes a game too, so all of that is in roughly like 7 minutes per game with him off the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that every time we would outscore them. That every single Knicks run pretty much came with Joel Embiid on the bench.
That
And
that is essentially, if you like average it out, every time he comes off the floor, like an 8-0 run.
yeah,
I think, and I mean, I think everyone kind of knows this, like that the Sixers have a lot of questions to answer personnel wise going into the offseason. They have like what 3 players under contract or something. Like they need to, like Tobias is gone. I think everyone knows that, and then they have to replace like him, maybe Oubre, Batum, Lowry, Payne. Figure out what they have to do with Heald. Like all these guys are kind of in flux, which gives them a lot of potential for improvement, but also too is kind of like a worrying state to be in where you really only know for sure that like 2 of your guys are going to be back.
Um, I think there's a certain level of comfort and freedom in that they don't have the restrictions of the cap. And the second apron being a thing now severely limits the team building of a lot of these other teams. They have like 60 million in cap space, so second apron's not a thing. They can trade whatever picks, deal people in groups, trade cash and trades, all that stuff that is limited if you're over the second apron. So I like the spot they're in from a team building perspective.
You have to get the
It,
right guys though.
I mean, yeah. At the end of the day, we could talk about what they have and don't have. None of it's going to mean anything if they don't get the right people, or they just get everybody. Maybe they fucking sign Paul George.
I mean, that's the thing.
Or
Like, I feel like you almost need to land Paul George this offseason. If the Sixers don't land Paul George, what does their offseason progression look like?
the thing is
um,
the right guys for the Sixers. This is like a problem that a lot of teams have. The guys who are the right guys for Philly are like the right guys for like any other team that's trying to be good too.
Yeah, that's like
So
they,
it's
I feel like they have to land PG, and if they don't, it's almost a failure.
well, let's talk about some other solutions. Off the top of my head, I haven't prepared any of these. Um,
LeBron James.
I mean,
Well, no.
yeah, I guess like
the Bulls, to my understanding, at this point, there was an article that came out recently. I forget who wrote it. I
that
feel
they're
bad.
selling Low and Levine.
That they're essentially treating it as a salary dump now because he has that little value around the league. I don't think Zach LaVine is that bad of a basketball
I
player.
don't think he's that bad either. But
So
to
if
the
that's the
Bulls, he might
price,
be.
so if that's the price, if you can get out of there with like, they're talking about salary dump, but Philly has cap space and no players to trade. If you're talking about like, you could get him for like two like heavily protected firsts. I don't know what Philly has for draft capital, or like an unprotected first or something. Like, I don't know what value exactly. I don't know. The Bulls don't seem to know either. I don't know exactly what they would trade him for. But again, if we're talking about salary dump, that tells me that's like we can get out of there with like a protected pick or two
Yeah.
potentially.
I mean,
I
Levine's
had another one.
potentially an easy add, but I can't say I'm in love with the pairing. Like it
He is
wouldn't
an
be
easy
bad.
ad for a reason as well. Like
It wouldn't be
Yeah,
bad, but it's also like I don't know. It's hard to see a super successful lineup where the backcourt is Maxey and Levine.
um, well, I mean, they managed with Harden and Maxey for a bit. Who I know,
Zach LaVine's not.
I know Harden has a maybe a worse reputation, but was probably a better defender than Zach LaVine for on the
I
whole.
think I mean
but-
it also worked for like different reasons that I don't think a
Yeah, yeah.
Maxey Levine backcourt
No,
is
it's valid.
capable of.
Laurie Markkinen comes to mind. I don't think Danny Ainge. Danny Ainge drives a hard bargain, so I don't know if they would ever have enough.
He would go to the Thunder if anything, just because they have so much more resources.
True. DeJounte?
You see,
Gulp.
now we're entering a caliber
Loud-
of player where
Loud
I'm getting
reverb
very-
gulp.
I'm getting very worried.
No, I had another one that was I don't remember who. I don't know. Damn, it sucks. Like 2 seasons ago, getting a guy like Jeremy Grant would have been really nice for them. He could have fit well next to Embiid, but these days, what is he making? Like 32 million? Maybe not so much.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
I don't
like
know.
4
He seems
years.
to enjoy this whole like first option bit he's doing too. So,
But he's not even the first option. He's like the second
I mean,
for now.
Yeah, I guess.
Probably be the third next year.
Maybe they don't get a star. Maybe they look at the Maxey and Embiid 2-man game and they think, okay, these guys are fucking perfect together when they're on the floor. Maybe we just need to we take this 60 million and we just break it up into like 3 or 4 really good players. Oh, Malik Monk might be a Sixer. That'd be a good one.
Yeah, they just need to sign their Contavious Caldwell-Pope and their Michael Porter Jr. and their Aaron Gordon.
They could
And the
sign. They could
and
sign.
the Bruce
Bill
Brown.
Contavious
Could sign
Caldwell-Pope.
KCP. That is realistic.
He's probably gonna decline his player option, and I mean, rightfully so. Chase your bag. He's probably gonna decline his player option and see what type of money he can get. I mean, it's probably his last payday. What is he? 31, 32?
Something
So
to that effect.
they get like a KCP, for real, or Malik Monk. I don't know. That's a lot of speculation. We're
It's a lot to consider,
far
for sure.
far off the talking about the series itself, but
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about the team that won. Actually, the New York Knicks. Jalen Brunson,
What is there to
40-point
say,
games in a row. Fourth player to ever do it.
oh,
Yeah.
Jalen Brunson. Where do I even start?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No,
my
My
Pookie
morning
Bear,
sunshine.
my beautiful bounty breeze. Yeah, I mean he's really good. He's like knocking on top 10 player in the league. I don't know. I feel like there's not that much to talk about with our team because we were really good and we were clearly going to beat the Pacers. Then we got hurt, and
Yeah. More hurt than we already were.
then we lost. And
I've
it's
heard
like
that
okay,
somewhere.
sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Do we want to talk about Mavericks Clippers?
I
Let's
think we
finish up-
should.
Let's finish up the East. Let's finish up the East first, can we?
What else is there to talk about the East?
Yeah,
That's a good point, honestly.
Yeah,
We
this
talked
is-
about Magic Cavaliers, unfortunately.
I mean,
No
we
one
can
gives a
talk-
fuck about
If
any
you
of.
want to
okay,
talk
the-
about Pacers Bucks, we can.
No.
There's nothing to say
no.
though. There's no Giannis. Like, what do you want
Yeah.
to talk about?
There's no Giannis. Dame played like half the series. I do want to tip my hat to the Pacers because you can only play who's in front of you, and I don't. As much as they did have a easy path.
They're sorry, bro. I'm sorry.
I mean,
They're sorry.
I don't know. We made them earn it. You guys made them earn it. through everything. You know, it would have been really easy to just lay down and lose both series in like 5 with the injuries that were had. But um, you know, I do want to give them credit. Andrew Nemhard played a hell of a playoffs.
He has never hit that shot before. He does not practice that shot.
If you take
he has
off
never
your
looked at that
hater
shot.
He
goggles,
does not practice that shot.
he was picking up Damian Lillard, Chris Middleton, Jalen Brunson, full court.
Okay, I will say, listen, Nemhard played great. He had a great playoff run. Jalen Brunson dogged him every time.
That's
down.
fine. No,
He
that's
was-
fine.
He
No,
was
Nemhard is good.
dogged.
I'm just saying he's never practiced that shot. He just hasn't.
He did have
Never
a great
taken-
run though. He's
One leg is step
I
back.
honestly like Nemhard. I don't know. He's one of those guys who I could see like going somewhere else for a bigger role. He's kind of legit.
I don't
I
know.
think-
I see it the opposite. I think he's like a perfect complementary player. Like next. to
No,
the other guys.
he's a perfect complementary player on this team. I'm saying like if I'm him, like I'd want to go somewhere else and like
Well, you're not him.
get a
So.
bigger role.
I'm sorry.
But I'm saying like I think he probably like could think that way like going forward.
Oh yeah, maybe.
I don't
he was-
think he'd just want to be like what he is right now for the Pacers.
Yeah.
1 second. I
That's
just want to see because he was what, the 29th pick?
30. I think
Late.
he was last. I think he was 31st.
Oh, he was the 31st. So he was. Oh, I didn't realize he was a second rounder.
Yeah. Also, I forgot. There's not really much to talk about the Lakers. I mean, the Clippers Mavericks series because Kawhi didn't really play in a meaningful capacity either,
Yeah.
and so they just kind of lost.
Oh, okay. Never mind. He actually since he's a second rounder, I thought he was going to be a restricted free agent this year, but it actually, wow, this is really good management by the Pacers. After last season, or no, after he was drafted, he signed his draft day contract, and then it was voided, and then he signed a 4-year deal. I never realized that. Yeah, so he's actually still guaranteed next season, and
So
then
he has like
team-
he has like a first round pick contract then.
yeah, pretty much.
Wow, well done for the Pacers.
And he's not making first round money either. These are like $2 million every year.
That's like
That's
end of first round
crazy.
money.
That's crazy. Good for him, man.
Yeah. Good for them.
Point being,
better for them than for him.
point being, not to the don't get your panties in a bunch when I say this because I know both of you are gonna have something to say about this. Not
already
to
mad.
the same extent. I know. This gives me like Jalen Brunson vibes, where, you know, he was really solid last year. Andrew Nemhard had a really good rookie campaign, for what he was, and then this year he was thrust into a bit of a larger role, and in the regular season he really didn't look, I wouldn't say amazing, but he wasn't bad, and then he just blossomed in these playoffs, and I feel like he can really carry this momentum coming into next season where Benedict Mathurin took his spot at this year, and I don't know if he's going to take it back next season with what I've seen.
He shouldn't. I don't think Mathurin
No.
is very good. I think Nemhard is significantly
Yeah.
better and more
And
equipped
it
for
was
this
funny.
team.
It has been funny, like watching like Pacers fans be able to deal like, yeah, the Knicks don't have Randall or Anunoby or Mitchell Robinson, but we don't have Benedict Mathurin. It's like, shut up, man. Like the
You
kids.
unironically, in a playoff setting, you unironically might be better for it.
No, they were like honestly. I mean, it's not a Tyler Hero thing. Tyler Hero is different, but like it is like I do think that they benefited a lot from like not having Mathurin. Like he's not a good offensive player and a really bad defender. Like they collectively as a unit made up for his production and then some. Like with him being out. Like
I
I really
think
like that little group they have with Nemhard and Neesmith. Those guys.
yes,
That's a cool little tandem they have.
I think that I would not really be surprised if going into next season Andrew Nemhard starts every game, and he averaged 9 points, 4 assists this year, almost 50% for the field, 35% from three. I would really be surprised if he starts next year and is a lot more featured, and we see the usage go up, and he comes out of the year maybe averaging like 14 and 6, 15 and 5.
since
I don't
he's
know.
getting consistent starts, he's averaging like 10 and 4 on like crazy shooting, and then like he had this playoff run. I don't know. You'd be hard pressed to hold him back from getting a bigger role going forward.
I really liked him last year as like a consistent backcourt mate who makes good decisions and can shoot the ball. And I think he's evolved into so much more than that because he played a lot of point guard this year.
Yeah.
And so I think he's a lot more equipped to create his own shot. Um, and he pretty much since he came into the league, he's been a pretty good like connective dude. That mid range he has is lethal. That fall away mid range at like the free throw line area, he was
All of the
cooking.
Pacers, like, they're like they have a lot of really good mid, like him, Neesmith, McConnell,
Don't get me
Siakam at
fucking
times.
started
They
about that guy.
are crazy on their little like fallback 11-footers. They do not miss. Like they
Wait, on
TJ
which guy?
McConnell is the Drew
Oh, boy.
Holiday of Steph Curry's.
TJ
What?
McConnell's sick.
He pissed me off, man.
Wait.
And I've known for so long how good he is, but
No, he's
Like-
You strike me as very you seem like you'd be a TJ McConnell guy to me. I think if I were to like equate your vibe to an NBA player, it would be TJ McConnell.
oh,
I
like
think.
me as a player?
Just as like a guy,
Um,
you know what I mean?
What the hell?
Not that's not. Is that a bad thing? I don't think that's a bad thing.
He's kind of ratty, but I respect that because he's ratty in a way where if he's a rat for your team, you love him. But if he's a rat,
Yeah,
on
he's
the
also
team-
not like a supreme rat. He's not like Patrick Beverly or anything.
No, he's not like dirty. He's just really
he's
fucking annoying.
He's the good kind of rat.
He's ratty in the sense of like how
he
you're
plays the-
not
he
supposed
plays
to
the
be
rat
good at
role
that,
the right
but you
way.
are.
The right,
Like-
the right way, no.
Yeah.
No, but honestly, like he
Sneakily ratletic.
he
Mhm.
he killed us, and he killed you guys too at times. Like I think it was game 6, he just went off, and he torched us. He had some really really good games against Boston. Like he's
Yeah,
sick.
he just continues to be one of like the premier off the bench guards in the league.
I
And
think
he's so annoying
he's like a
on
top-
defense.
like a top 2 or 3 backup point guard right now.
Yeah, no, and he's annoying, man.
Yeah,
And
he's annoying. as fuck.
I was begging for a better team the last few years to snag him. I was just like really shocked that he has been in Indiana this whole time.
I know he heard Josh and Jalen talking about how they would beat the shit out of him on their podcast. He was like, I bet. Just torched us. No, he's
man.
he's sick. He
I-
yeah, that little fall away mid range shot he does, he's automatic. He actually does not miss. It's insane.
Yeah.
I feel like there's not much to talk about as far as like the rest of like the Eastern Conference round 2. I mean, the Celtics killed the Cavaliers because they're better, and
Yeah, a lot better.
we talked about the Pacers and Knicks a good amount, right? You know, Brunson got his, but we were dead by the end.
yeah.
It's
I do really quickly before we head out west. It needs
Mm-hmm.
to be said. I see a lot of people saying that the Celtics aren't going to be ready for the Mavericks in the finals because they haven't played. They've played worse competition, and it's a Mickey Mouse finals run because they've played a bunch of bad teams. I'm here to tell you, every team that they could have played in the Eastern Conference
Yeah.
is worse
Yeah.
than them. They
only
by that logic,
only
they
team-
physically could not play, equatable or healthy competition
Yeah.
unless they go play the Mavericks or the Nuggets or the Timberwolves. Like,
the Celtics could have played a 14-round playoffs in which they matched up against every single Eastern Conference team. I still would have given them like a 70% chance to come out. Like they are really that far removed from the rest of our conference, especially the rest of our conference in the current health state that they are. Like there was no combination of teams that was ever really going to make this a difficult prospect for them. And
Yeah.
well, and like you can say they didn't play, like you can acknowledge the omission of like other teams. Like Miami was beat the fuck up and they lost to them last year. Granted, much different Celtics team, but point being,
Much different
Um,
Heat team too.
yeah, the Bucks were super injured, lost in the first round. The Knicks and the Sixers beat the shit out of each other, and then the Knicks were like on life support by the time they got to Game 7 versus the Pacers.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
even if we beat the Pacers, they would have dogged us.
doesn't-
Like they would have.
Bro, it
dogged
doesn't
us
matter.
so
They have
crazy.
a top 10 net rating of all time. This
Yeah,
team, like,
they
what are
would
you gonna? What
dog
were we gonna
us.
do to them? actually, what were we gonna do
that
today?
needed to be said because
No, absolutely, I
as much
agree.
as you're right, there's not much to talk about with the series they did play. We should acknowledge
We
the greatness and the dominance.
we'd potentially have a chance with KP being hurt and all of our players being healthy. Like we have a chance, and
Yeah,
that's
we would
that's
have
the
like a
extent of it.
30% chance
Yeah.
opening that.
Yeah.
Oh man, do you guys know that
I-
they were plus 16 at home this year? That's pretty good,
No,
right?
they're normal. That's a normal. They're a normal team for sure.
Yeah.
Good
The
grief.
West round two was that was great. I feel like we need to talk about the PJ Washington in the room.
Yeah, I
That
think there's
was
a lot to talk about with just the Mavericks. Like in
that
general.
yeah, that was one of the strangest seasons. I will say, like, there's a lot to talk about with the Mavericks, but I think it starts and ends with the fact that if PJ Washington does not have the game, like the first 4 games of the series that he has, there is like a very good chance they just get swept.
Yeah,
Like, because a lot of those games were really close, and him going what, like 7 of 11 from 3 was a pretty big factor.
yeah. He shot like I think so over the course of those not the first 3 games, but games 2 through 4, he shot what is this 17 for 34 from 3.
That's pretty
Crazy,
good.
crazy stuff. 29 points, 27 points, 21 points. 2 Mavericks wins, and then they lose by 4 in that game 4. I don't know. I mean, I think over the course of this season, we've talked a lot of shit about the Mavericks role players. But they showed up. PJ showed up. Derek Jones
Lively.
has been really good. Lively's been crazy. Lively and
My
Gafford. I
son.
think, like both of
My
them have been really,
beautiful
really
son.
fucking
Oh
good.
my god.
I mean, Tim Hardaway is like not even playing, which is great. Like great adjustment from Jason Kidd.
No,
We were talking about
And a huge,
6 man of the
huge
year, like-
turnaround from like him at the start of the season being like, "Yeah, we're gonna get him 6th man of the year." To actually, you guys are everyone's. You're right. This guy kind of sucks. I'm just not gonna play him. And
He was really my number 1 6 man of the year guy, like 30 games
tough
into the season.
But I mean, yeah, Cleaver's given them great minutes when he's played.
Mhm.
Josh Green has been, I mean, whatever, but like he does enough. They like
Yeah.
their like top 8 guys have all shown up big.
And that wasn't even that good of a Luca series. That was
No,
like
it
a
wasn't.
mid Luca.
Luca hasn't had like a Luca series yet. Like these first 3 series, I mean, for his standards, like they've been like pretty pedestrian.
Oh, for sure.
I
like,
don't know. He had 5 triple doubles straight.
But he just
or
does
was that
that.
over
He
the-
does that every game. Like that's
I
just
guess.
his
Yeah,
thing.
there have been very few games where it's felt like he's taken over with like, oh my god, this guy can't fucking miss. You know, there's
Yeah.
been a lot of missing.
Like I'd say
it's-
like the Wolves series, I'd
And
say
it's
is like
fine.
that's like what we've kind
been
of
his
come
best
to
one.
expect from him. But like he didn't do that much against the Clippers. I mean, granted, like yeah, he's hurt, blah blah blah, whatever. Everyone's hurt. I don't care. This Wolves series was like that's the Luka series. The first 2, he was like kind of whatever for the most part.
Can we talk about the Clippers lost the same night that the Kendrick and Drake beef was like really popping off? I have not seen a single word written about the Clippers this whole postseason since they lost.
they're very fortunate.
They lost the night Not Like Us dropped, and no one gave a fuck that they lost. I've not seen a Clippers fan.
I still don't
no
care that they
articles.
lost.
I haven't seen any news. I saw a video of James Harden at a basketball camp in Europe, and no one in the replies even mentioned like the Clippers.
Yeah.
The most stuff I've seen about them is like, is Paul George going to be back?
I was gonna
Because
say
they
I
have,
feel like
their
the only
contract
narrative
beef.
about the Clippers is the PG thing. Like I don't know. I feel like people have kind of come to expect this. Like I feel like I don't know. I feel like a lot of people kind of felt like something like this would happen. Like oh, like Kawhi's gonna get hurt and they're just gonna lose because it happens all the time, or there's gonna be some sort of like I don't know supreme choke job from some combination of them. I don't know. There's quite a few of those guys.
Hey,
but, like,
James Harden had a pretty
No,
good
he's
series.
really
Has to
good.
be said.
I mean,
Has to
PG
be
was
said.
pretty bad.
Mhm.
The rest of them were like pretty bad, to be honest.
I just thought that with the composition of this roster, there was like no way that this could happen again. Like when going down the line, they just have on paper everything that I look for in like terms of roster construction. They have multiple looks that they can go to, like at center. You know, more of like a playmaking hub with Plumlee, the more of the stretch. You know, increase the size of the floor with Daniel Tice, or just like a straight up bruiser and rim protector in Zubac. They have wings who can shoot and defend. Terrence Mann is a versatile role player, can play multiple positions, do a couple of different things pretty well. Um, and then like their top end talent, like two of those guys don't need the ball in their hands to be effective, but are great with it. And then James Harden can play on the ball, off the ball, and just like that. They've literally been begging for years for a point guard. We were talking about fucking Malcolm Brogdon this offseason before that trade got nixed. And even before the trade got rescinded because he failed his physical, we were like, damn, Brogdon like really fills a lot of gaps. This Clippers team could be like legit nice. And then they got James Harden for fucking nothing. And it just didn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, Westbrook kind of turned into a pumpkin, which was unfortunate. Okay, man. That was the thing, though. He was like nice and consistent, pretty decent for them all year, and then
He played
this
the best
series rolled around.
defense of
He
his
just
career.
could not hit.
But he kind
anything.
of just does that. Doesn't
I
he?
know
Like,
he
that's
does
just kind
that,
of
but
his
it's usually
thing.
not like this, bro. Like, usually Russell Westbrook, you can trust to shoot 30% from the field. You can trust him to have at least one more assist than turnover, especially in a bench role. Like,
Okay, I just do
miss-
not look at the
at
true
least
shooting. Holy
one,
fuck.
at least one,
The
just
true-
one.
The true shooting is not good.
Does it
I
start
know-
with a 3 or a 4?
A
three,
It's
okay.
a 3.
I know.
unfortunately.
I know.
It's a 3 and then a
is gonna
4.
roll their eyes, but
Oh, boy.
goddamn, I fucking miss when Russell Westbrook was really good, man.
Yeah.
I
And
saw a
it's-
graphic the other day from his
So-
the last month of the regular season in his Wizards tenure, where he had 5 straight games of 15 or more assists. Fucking god, that one month in May where he averaged like 26, 16, and 15. Like, oh, how did we get here? How did we get here?
Such it is with a burst reliant player who loses a lot of his burst.
It
Stuff.
all happened so quickly.
It
There wasn't
really
even
did.
there wasn't even like a major injury or anything. It was like he went to the Lakers, the vibes were off, and now he's just cooked.
That's right.
I mean, I don't know. Honestly, for me, he's been cooked like since Houston. Like, I thought that Wizards year, he turned it around at the end. He was bad for most of the year, and then after that, it's just been like a steady decline, and now he's this. I mean, I will say, it is, I guess, encouraging that he's like kind of found himself as like a defense first guy, but boy, the other end is just putrid.
The shots
Putrid
gotta
hoops.
come around. Like it has.
Does
it
it?
have to?
Well,
It
no,
doesn't
I'm not. Well, no, I'm not saying.
Oh, you mean
Like-
like for him to continue?
Yeah, like,
to, like
he needs it, not.
I
Like,
don't think
no,
he's
no.
like capable of that. I
You're
don't think
such
he,
a dick.
That's
I'm so but like how is he gonna do that? That's
I
not
don't
his
know.
thing.
I didn't say he could or he would. I just said
He'll
if-
make it
if-
happen, man. He's
I
got
just said if
skills.
his career's gonna continue, that's what has to happen.
Well, I'm not sure that. I mean, I think his career will continue regardless of whether he improves. But
His career as an NBA basketball player, specifically.
oh, like an NBA level player. Oof.
Yeah.
Well then,
I don't know,
maybe.
it's tough, man. Might be Jove.
We spent more time talking about Russell Westbrook than the Boston Celtics.
What is there to say?
I'd really
They're
rather
better than
not
everyone.
talk
They've
about the
been better.
Celtics.
We could talk
No.
about them for the finals.
I'd rather
preview,
not
but,
talk
like,
about Russ. No, it's okay.
I mean,
mean-
okay, let's. Okay, I mean,
Can we
we've
talk about
covered.
okay, can we talk about the Nuggets versus the Timberwolves? Actually,
No, I did say I miss him.
Sure, let's talk about the two Wolves series, like second round and conference finals, because I think there's.
Nuggets
Yeah,
Timberwolves.
there's-
That
they-
was what a wild fucking series that was, man. Oh my goodness. Have you guys ever seen the narrative flip on one series like that so intensely so many times? That
At least,
was like
I think there were like 4 just like full turnarounds in the narrative.
I mean, it
No,
was a
I
wild
know.
series. Like that was. It
it was
was
game
like,
one. It was like oh man, the Wolves. Well, it's first of all, it started like the Wolves are too young, they can't win. Then it
Mhm.
was like game one, oh, they might actually be here. Game two, are the Nuggets finished? Should they kill Jokic in like the back of the barn or whatever? Game three happens, it's like, oh, are they back? Game four, are the Wolves frauds? Game five, should they take Rudy Gobert and kill him instead? And then like game six, it's like, okay, well, now we got a series. Game seven at halftime, it's like, no, they definitely have to kill Rudy Gobert for sure. And then the Nuggets score like what, like 35 points in the second half, and they just
It was 37 points to
yeah.
60 to 37 second half in game 7. Probably that probably like the worst collapse we've seen from the Nuggets during this like since like 2021 till now.
Yeah.
Really
Like,
surprising to see.
they got
I
him.
know.
They almost got embarrassed. Like it was. I'm not even almost. It was embarrassing to watch. Like
This series was so far in their favor after they won Game 5 that we had Kendrick Perkins on national television saying that they should bring Rudy Gobert off the bench and that they should start Naz Reid, and that is how they contain Nikola Jokic.
Yeah, Rudy
It-
Gobert known for not containing Nikola Jokic very well.
Who the
Um,
fuck is?
I will say I think that there was a stat I saw, and it's something like over the past like 2 years, I think like the Nuggets with Jokic playing have scored under 80 points like 6 times, and half of those are against Rudy Gobert,
I will say,
Yeah.
and it was twice in this series.
I'm no hater. Well, I mean, sometimes.
Oh, okay.
Let's,
But,
let's dial it back.
I don't hate this guy particularly, but I will say I am at least a little bit glad I don't have to hear like playoff Jamal Murray narratives for an entire offseason again. I am a little bit happy about that.
Come on. This is
No,
the
I
first
get
bad.
it.
This is the first bad postseason he's had. In
I'm just
how
I
long?
just don't I just I'm just glad I
Everyone's a
don't have to
playoff
hear it.
riser until they aren't, man. Remember Donovan Mitchell was a historic playoff riser, and then he wasn't because
He was
had some bad-
him this year still. I mean, he averaged like 30 points per game.
The thing is, I think it's just a variance thing. Like I think over his grand span of like playoff career, he's just Donovan Mitchell. Like that's just who he is. And like I think Jamal Murray is that there are more bad series in his future. Like he's not just like this ultra robust like genius shot maker all the time, always whenever it turns to May. Sometimes he just has stinkers. He had a bad series versus the Lakers too. It just didn't matter because I don't know, mental gap or whatever.
Gamed the fuck out of them twice.
Yeah, and like
It
that was really stupid too.
unironically a mental gap.
That was so sick.
Yeah. That's so funny because he had like a bad series, and it's just like he hit the shots anyway. Like what else? It's yeah.
I
A
do
lot of
wonder how the
credit
Nuggets.
to.
Oh, sorry.
No, sorry. I don't really love Anthony Edwards as a player, but I will say he played really well.
He
that
played his
series.
ass off.
He did.
Like this
Um,
this playoff run,
yeah.
regardless of what I said, I mean, I still more or less think the same things I think about Ant that I did before, but he played his ass off this playoffs. Like he had a great fucking run.
When we were talking about all NBA teams, and I was asked to explain my position on Anthony
Still
Edwards
not
on all
all
NBA second team. No, that's fine. I'm not gonna say that this justifies it because it's a regular season award. But the stuff that I talked about in that episode is why I think he was so good in this postseason. The relentlessness, the want to win, the skill, the athleticism. Hell of a player, man. So much fun to watch him this year. I'm sad that it's over, but
And then they
I
got
don't-
killed the next round in the strangest series you've ever seen.
Yeah, and then he played like shit, and they got creamy Luka Doncic back shots for 5
Yeah,
games.
I don't. Jesus Christ. I don't really. That series still doesn't feel real to me, like the Timberwolves Mavericks one. You know what I mean? Like
I
it feels-
watched every single
It feels
game,
invented.
and every single game I couldn't believe what I was watching.
It feels invented.
Like,
I feel like
genuinely, I'm so serious. I've never been more. I feel like I've never been more shell shocked watching. Maybe the last time would have been, like the Celtics sweeping the Nets or something. The way they did, but
Yeah.
I genuinely for like 4 out of 5 just shell shocks. Like wow, I cannot believe the Mavericks are like dogging them like this.
Yeah,
But the thing is, it wasn't even dogging them because almost every game was within like single digits, and it just felt like some weird thing would happen, and then the Wolves would just lose.
Well, I mean,
something would occur, and
Yeah.
then a few extra steps happen, and Luka Doncic is drilling a step back three in Rudy Gobert's face, and now they're going home up 2-0 when it's like if a possession goes a different way in game one and game two, it's a 2-0 series the other way. Like
But
it's so strange.
it almost felt like the whole time like that nothing would go the Wolves' way. Just the way those games were playing out, it never really seemed the Mavericks always seemed in control to me, which was the weird part. I fully expected them to just be completely on the back foot the whole time, and if they were gonna win, Luka was gonna have to drop like 45 points or something. But
I mean, that's what
didn't
happens
happen that way.
when your two best players play like the two best players in the whole series, and they did.
I mean,
Um,
that's
and-
true too, but I don't know. I mean, the way Cat played was an abomination of nature.
It's so sad.
Rudy was, I mean, he's Rudy Gobert. Like, he does his rim thing, but, you know, if they get their switch on him, it's cooked. And I mean, I don't know. Ant was fine. I felt like the Wolves role players were really so invisible, which is such a
Yeah.
stark contrast to the map. Like, it was like an inverse of our regular season expectations. Like, the Mavs role players were all on point. Their center court, like Gafford and Lively, went crazy. I mean, their entire run was crazy, but this series in particular, Gafford and Lively were fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And
It was weird.
then
I feel like Ant had like a great series actually. Like playmaking, that was like the highest level I've ever seen him at in terms of like creating for others, and it just didn't matter. You know what I mean? Like I feel like so many times you would see like an Anthony Edwards like beating a man one on one, leading to an open shot, and it just wouldn't happen for like the
Yeah.
other player that it gets created for. And like, I mean, it's good for him because that's like one of the main things he needed to work on in order to take his game first to a superstar level. But it's bad for the rest of the team because it's like, okay, if Anthony Edwards can't get you your points, who is getting them? And it looked like the answer was no one, and they just kind of like keeled over and died.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like they made. First of all, I will like their defensive scheme on Ant was really good, and they just made other guys beat them, and they didn't beat them. Cat was horrid the whole time, and they don't have a lot of other options really besides him. Like, Conley's a shooter.
Their
but he's
offense
not-
is still
he's
just
not
so not it, man.
option. Nas Reed had, you know, a couple great games. I mean, he got really fucking hot. Game 4, I think. Was it game 4 that they won?
That was one where he went like what 6 for 6
he
from
went,
three
like-
or something.
Yeah, some crazy shit. I think he went like 7 of 8 for the game or some shit.
Mhm.
But other than that, they don't have options. I mean, it's not like the Mavericks have options either, but
I think their options are just more robust.
yeah, like Luka and Kyrie are just better at the thing than Ant is, and better than Cat is, and they're the things that but it feels weird. You would think that the Wolves' defensive capabilities, like, they'd be equipped to deal with the kinds of players that Kyrie and Luka are. Like, they're not really like drop abusers. They just kind of go one-on-one and attack you. And I don't know, the Wolves stopped guys like that the entire year and just didn't, and during the series at all.
Well, I mean that's pretty much the way that the Mavericks have schemed against every team that they've played so far in these playoffs. You know, they have really honed in on the stars, and I mean sometimes it didn't matter. You know, like Shea got his anyway, Harden got his anyway. But they're fully able to live with, you know, when they're playing against the Thunder. If we can take the ball out of Shea's hand on this possession and we're gonna make Chet Holmgren beat us or Jalen Williams beat us, we'll live with that. And they did, and they won. And so that's really the way the Mavericks have played this whole time. And that's really how the Wolves won and beat the dog shit out of the Suns, because we got a couple of really good, like 20, 25 point Jaden McDaniels performances, and there's been some really good Nas Reed games sprinkled in and stuff. And so that's really the way the Wolves have won. I think there was just a greater emphasis on not just we're gonna give this shot to Jaden McDaniels, but what kind of shot are we giving to Jaden McDaniels? Are we sucking in from the weak side corner and we're going to let him take that corner three? Or do we have people scrambling around the perimeter and it's going to get to Jaden McDaniels, but this is a one dribble pull up. It's not a corner three. Stuff like that. Or we're going to make Jaden McDaniels drive. Or Nas Reed, we know you can put the ball on the floor, but we want to see you do it for 28 minutes a game. Stuff like that where, and I mean, sometimes at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure through the first 5 games, the margin of victory was the point differential like total for the series was single digits until the Mavericks won by 20 in Game 6.
Yeah.
Or sorry, Game 5. So through the first 4 games rather, it was single digit point differential. At the end of the day, man, like sometimes you really just did all you can do, and it's just you have to make or miss shots. Like you can really go back and look at certain runs that the Mavericks went on in some of these games that ended up being close, and you can say, well, that was a good shot here, and Jaden McDaniels missed it, or they ran Nas Reed off the line and he couldn't finish. Stuff like that, where at the end of the day, they make a couple of those shots and maybe they win the series, and now we're talking about what the Mavericks could have done differently. That's just the way basketball is, but I think overall, it's just really hard to win when your 2 best players are getting completely outplayed for basically every game that mattered.
Yeah. I will say, too, I'd like to point
yeah.
out, Kyrie and Luka, defensively, in isolation, very fucking good. Dude.
Especially Kyrie. The entire playoffs, I was so impressed with Kyrie.
His activity is crazy.
Which... it's not my favorite words to ever come out of my mouth, certainly, but really, really impressed with
very
Kyrie Irving defense.
Cases.
Yeah, right. Like for every series, like Luka was like on and off, and like I know he has like the field goal against stat that people have been like parroting, and like it's some of it's real, a lot of it's not.
I think in isolation,
was just like Kyrie was just like straight up like a plus defender every single series they played. It was really weird.
Yeah,
and I don't like that. I hope it never happens again. NBA Finals, right?
I suppose.
Yeah. Jesus.
Oh wait, no, we got to do the all playoff
the teams.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all playoff teams, or I guess team, right? I think we're just doing one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, just your best 5 players from the playoffs, and then I made an honorable mentions list.
Sure.
Am I starting or?
I'll start.
Okay.
It's gonna be kind of boring. I'm gonna call it Luka, Brunson, Embiid, Jokic, SGA.
I had Luka, Jokic, Brunson, SGA, Anthony Edwards. Mr. Sith.
Embiid, Luka, SGA, Jokic. I think I have the same as Bashiri's, Jalen Brunson. It was. I think the only difference we have is what Embiid versus Ant, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's just like how much do you value like Ant being winning
rounds.
2 series versus Embiid winning 0, and like the level of competition, etc. I don't think there's that much there, but like yeah, and then like the honorable mentions we were talking about before the show, guys who are definitely worth talking about. LeBron, Derek White. We talked about Donovan already. Jason Tatum, I guess.
Jaylen Brown. Don't hate.
Unfortunately, yeah, Jaylen.
I don't think it's. But the thing is, the Celtics are so difficult to pin down because like Tatum will more often than not just lead them in like counting stats, but it's so much more complicated than that, and it's.
I mean, I will say up until the conference finals, he just objectively shot the ball like shit almost every game.
Yeah.
but he had a really good conference finals. So
Yeah, I think he should have won Eastern Conference Finals MVP, but that's like kind of just splitting hairs. I think like four of them could have won it, honestly. Like between
Mhm.
him, Jalen Brown, Derek White, and Drew Holiday, where they all had insane series against a team that was way worse than them. Drew Holiday finally had a good playoffs shooting the ball. Good for him. We're very proud.
brings a fucking
Um,
tear to my eye, man. All you
doesn't it
had to do
just?
was do that one time, and you'd still be here. Oh, my brother.
Doesn't it just? Yeah, the near 50, 40, 90 playoffs for Drew Holiday. All it took was him being like the ninth option or whatever it is
Pacers
he is over
defense
there.
moment, I think, a little
That
bit.
too. Um, yeah, it's I don't know. Going into the finals, because I feel like there's not that much to talk about, like the all playoff teams. Clearly, um, I so I was looking into like the matchup stuff for like how the Celtics have played the Mavericks like this season, just like regularly. They have Jalen Brown guard Luka Doncic a lot more than you would expect them to, which is
Hmm.
more
I
than not at all. They have
I
him
mean, I was
usually,
expecting him to be the primary defender for the series.
yeah,
Yeah.
which I'm not sure I like that. I don't, or I well, I to be specific, I really don't like that actually. Um, just because you have who you have in your backcourt, and I know Jalen is like bigger than Derek or Drew, but he's just I don't know. The thing is, Luca is the kind of player that isn't necessarily going to punish the Jalen Brown defensive weaknesses because he's not like a huge off-ball mover. He's not a great athlete. He's not, very deceptive away from the play. He's kind of the opposite. But I don't know. You're gonna have one of Derek White or Drew Holiday on a player that isn't Kyrie Irving or Luka Doncic at pretty much all times, which is
Yeah, I
curious.
my guess is I think Drew will be on Kyrie, and they're gonna roam Derek White and try to cheese passing lanes
Mm-hmm.
because there's not. I mean, this is just how I see it. I don't really think there's a ton of added value in just sticking White on Luca for a whole possession in a one-on-one because I don't think there's that much of a difference in like the results you're gonna get. I think Luca's kind of gonna get his anyway, but I think by having White like as a rotator and a roamer, like they can cause a lot of problems turning the ball over and limiting the production and success that like Mavs shooters have had so far.
Mhm.
Drew on Kyrie, I think that's gonna be. I think that's how they've played it so far, and I think they'll continue to go to that. Just like I think that's just like a matchup that they're comfortable with, and I think Drew has played that matchup well historically, so they'll probably just run with it.
Something worth considering too is that, especially with the increased role he's taken in these playoffs, maybe you need Derek White. As weird as this sounds, knowing who he is and who he's turned into, maybe you need Derek White to conserve his energy to be the primary playmaker.
Mhm.
Like,
Potentially,
like the like he is so good on defense, but he is also like their best passer and their best playmaker. And I think maybe you just need him to feel all the way rested or like focused on doing that and just let him kind of be like an off-ball pest more than anything.
yeah. And skill
Very
set wise,
strange.
I don't think he's like as great as he is. I don't think he's particularly any more well equipped than Jalen Brown to deal with like a Luca back down high post situation. Like I don't think it's that much that like significant a difference.
Mm.
Here's the way I think they're gonna operate, schematically, to start off with, because we've seen a lot of Jason Tatum guarding fives, this year, particularly against really dominant guards. Um, Imagine like a 1-5 pick and roll at the middle of the floor, and then let's say you've got Derek Jones Jr. in the weak side, like in the left corner. Strong side, you've got PJ Washington in the right corner, Kyrie Irving at the right elbow. So if you have Jalen Brown guarding Luca, Lively comes up to set the screen. Him and Tatum can blitz. Jalen Brown can go over the screen, which is a lot. I saw a clip the other day. This is what they were doing in the regular season. Jalen Brown would go over the screen, and whoever's guarding the five would basically just tag and hold the five the entire time, so he can't roll. But think about it this way: they can blitz him as much as they want, You have Porzingis in the corner on PJ Washington, let's say. So if you blitz, he throws it over the top to Lively. Lively has it in the short roll. Porzingis drags over from the corner and is now in front of him. So the corner's open, but if they kick it to the corner, now they have Drew or Derek White splitting between the corner and the elbow guy. Does that make sense? Did I explain that right? So that's, to me, if you're just talking about bog standard like 1-5, spread coverage, I think that's what they will do, assuming Porzingis plays. If you have Horford, you have a more.
They said Porzingis is going to play.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's the finals. I would hope
surprised
so.
if they held him out.
No, like he's going to play game 1. Like he's
cool.
back.
I don't think they're going to hold him out the whole playoff run to not play in the finals.
Yeah, I think Tatum's good enough as a big wing defender and had a lot of success guarding like actual bigs at the start of actions this year. Mind you, Celtics really didn't blitz a lot in the regular season. I think they might have blitzed the least out of every team actually, or they were like 28th, 26th, somewhere down towards the bottom. But my point is that if they want, the main advantage between Lively and Gafford is that Lively this postseason has been a far superior short roll decision maker as far as hitting the corners or getting his, things of that nature. And so when Lively's on the floor, I think they will just have Tatum on Lively and have Porzingis drag from one of the corners, and they're going to rotate around the perimeter. And yeah, again, it's going to come down to PJ Washington. You have to make a shot, or maybe Kyrie Irving gets it on the second side, and that's how they win. But at least we stopped, what has really been the Mavericks' bread and butter, or at least Luka and Lively's bread and butter for most of this postseason.
I'm glad you mentioned the short roll thing because it's partially for that reason that I think the Celtics will just switch everything. I'd be pretty surprised if we see them like blitz or hedge a lot on screens. I think that they're going to play very switch heavy unless it's with Porzingis defending the screener. I think in any sort of like guard or Luka PJ screen action, I think they'll just switch everything like as much as they can.
I think Luka and Kyrie are gonna want to try and get Porzingis in action as much as possible. If I was them, or if I was Jason Kidd, I would want to test out his mobility. And not only that, Porzingis is a drop monster, but like these are two of the most like prolific pull-up shooters in the league currently. And especially more so Kai, like the ability to just hit the afterburner and like duck under and get to the basket. Like, don't get me wrong, we sang praises about Porzingis as a drop threat and as a shot blocker and a rim deterrent all season. But it's the NBA Finals. This is a different animal.
Kyrie's one of like the premier like snake dribble like free throw line pull up jumper guys in the league.
Right. For sure.
I think because of what you said about like the decision making, Gafford, who really just does not have that at all. Like if you are swarming Gafford and like if you have like someone big helping from the corner, he will very rarely make the right decision, and when he does, it is going to be late. So I think that coverage you described might be more common with him on the floor because they're never running him and Lively at the same time. And Lively is just a lot more liable to punish with his ability to. Again, it's been like a thing since his days at Duke, and it's been part of his profile like all year. Is that he is like a willing and effective connected passer. Like he can do what needs to be done there. I don't think Gafford has that. He hasn't shown it this playoffs, this regular season, and that's like one of the main differences. Like, I know that Gafford has had a good postseason, but when you looked at like the totality of the playoffs, the Mavericks are still significantly better, all else equal, with Lively on the floor, and I think that's a big reason, is because when Gafford gets the ball, if he is not putting it up immediately, it is going to stop for a little bit. It sticks when he gets it, and I expect the Celtics to punish that because they do that as well as anyone, really. And maybe the Derek White passing lane thing is really going to come into play there because we know he can be just an absolute menace off the ball, and I anticipate a lot of like rogue reach-ins or like stunts from like the nail where Gafford has just received a pass and he's, been turned around by Tatum or Porzingis, and now he has to decide what to do, and Derek White's just already there. Or Drew Holiday is already there, or Jason, or someone is already going to be there, because I don't think they're going to let
four
him.
of them, really.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
They're not going to let him just because he is big and he is strong, and he will get into the chest of someone like Porzingis or Tatum and make a strong move. He doesn't really go around guys, but he does go through guys, and he does that pretty well.
Mhm.
But I don't think they're going to give him a lot of chances to do that. And so, yeah. And then on the defensive end, I mean, I'm worried about how the Mavericks are going to hold up. Just because, listen, Luka and Kyrie we've talked about how their effort this postseason has been totally laudable and really above what we've expected from them. But none of them have really had assignments with the level of talent that they will be given here, especially not Luka. They usually have him just chilling out and say go be active. We'll assign you, quote unquote, to the worst player. If you have energy, go make a play, go be big somewhere. If you don't, that's fine. They usually don't have him on the best player or the second best player.
It's that.
But with the Celtics, their third or fourth best player is still a really fucking good player.
I was gonna say there's they have too many options. There's literally too many guys on the Celtics that you can't really hide Luka effectively. I mean, more than likely he gets put on Drew, and you kind of live with that. I don't really think Drew is gonna cook him and is gonna change the series in any significant way. But it's I think it's more so the first three that I'd really be worried about. I'd be really worried about how you match up Tatum, Brown, White with Washington, Derek Jones, and Kyrie, because that's you have to figure that out somehow, and I think
that's probably the order they go. I think they go
Washington
not quite that order.
Tatum, Jones on
That's what I would do.
I would rather have Jones on Tatum, I think, just because I think he's the better defender.
Yeah.
PJ on Jaylen Brown. And
point being, your options aren't great.
I feel like I would rather have Derek Jones Jr. on Jaylen Brown, because I think Derek Jones Jr. is more mobile. Oh, well, I guess I don't know.
I think Jones is a bit...
I was going to say Derek Jones Jr.
is... maybe?
Yeah, better laterally, quicker laterally, better screen navigator, more mobile.
I think he's just a better defender.
Right.
And so I would kind of just want him on the more important offensive player in Jason.
But I think the difference is that Jaylen Brown is so much more willing, no matter time and score, no matter how he's shooting, to just put his head down and get to the basket at will.
That's true.
I think stylistically, Washington would probably have an easier time dealing with Tatum just with his size. Tatum tends to settle a bit more. He's not gonna blow by you a ton.
I think
Jaylen Brown will have games where he just tries to blow by someone 20 times.
I think I like PJ Washington's strength potentially, on the Jaylen Brown drives, but I don't know if he's fast enough. I think Derek Jones Jr. is fast enough, but I don't know if he's strong enough for when Jaylen Brown just decides, I'm going to go through you, which he does a lot. I don't know. I mean, and it's interesting. It's really interesting to think about.
I've been wondering, I mean, I don't know if there's a health aspect to this, but I'm wondering if we're going to see more of Kleber this series, because I feel like he would be a good option for them to have guarding one of these wings in stretches.
Yeah, I think if Horford is the 5, you probably... I don't know, it depends. If Horford's the 5 and Tatum's the 4, I don't think you want Gafford out there as much, or you might not. Because the Celtics are going to be switching. You need people to attack closeouts, and you, in turn, would also like to switch when Al Horford is on the floor. You don't really want, a super immobile 5 guarding Al Horford. So I think Kleber could get some decent burn. But you could look at it from the other side, too, of, Well, Gafford's a bruiser,
Yeah,
and
the
can
Celtics would
kind of
just lack
muscle his way.
verticality in that.
Yeah, yeah, like Al Horford protecting the rim against the Daniel Gafford lob sounds like food.
Hmm.
But how do you get to the lob if they're switching everything and blitzing and uh, stunting at the nail and shit like that? Like it's
Daniel Gafford can jump pretty high.
he can jump
I think
pretty fucking
you
high.
might just say throw. You
Like,
just
just go
have
get it.
one of the best passers in the world throw it over the top and have my really high jumping guy jump really high.
Yeah.
I think I might just come down to that.
He is one of the best lob catchers I have seen in recent memory.
Yeah.
As far as role players go, like he's certainly up there. I'm so happy for him, man. We should we were gonna recap like just the journey of these teams, I guess. Um what a season it's been for the Mavericks, man. When you really think about it, this team is like 2 years removed from Jalen Brunson just leaving for nothing
They're
after,
1 year removed from missing the play-in.
right? That one game they had last year, who was it against? That game they lost versus the Spurs at the end of the season last year.
Oh,
That
you mean where they tanked so they could keep their
yeah,
pick? Yeah,
yeah.
actually,
That
I mean, Nick. I don't know about all Knicks fans. A lot of Knicks fans, myself included, whined about it because I thought it was really cringe. But it ended up being probably, actually, not even close. The single most impactful thing they did all of last season was
I
tanking
mean,
that
he's
game to
Yeah,
get their
that's why I was
pick.
whining about it. It was a really good
Because-
idea.
I
It was
mean, he's
smart.
arguably
They
their
just-
third best player,
They just got Derek Lively out of it.
which is crazy because I listen. In particular, I think about the attention that we gave Derek Lively on this show during the draft episode. And I mean, obviously we could have never predicted that he would be like this type of player. I thought what he's doing right now was a really good like maybe like year 5 or 6 outlook for him. I thought that what he's doing right now would literally be like the pinnacle of his skill set after a couple of years in the league as like a backup.
Yeah.
And he just came in as a rookie and has been
The thing
phenomenal.
is, like he's good at all the things I thought he would be good at. I mean, actually no, he's a much better rebounder than I thought he would be. But for the most part, he's good at like all the things I thought he would be good at. But he's just way better at them than I thought he would be this early. Like, and the problems I had with him, I still have, but they don't really matter, especially on this team. Like, it just doesn't matter that he's.
We were
like,
on
the
here
way
talking
that he's
about
limited.
left hand, right hand, catch the ball, put it in the
I mean,
cup.
yeah, we were right. That's all he needed to do, and he just does that thing all the time
It's
really
great.
well. Like,
Hey,
Yeah.
man, right before I said that though, what else did I say? I said the ability
It's-
on the defensive end and the ability to move at that size, it was going to be special, and it's been special.
and also too,
He's-
and this is like probably ended up being the single best like mid-season acquisition this year. Daniel Gafford,
easily.
like he's just. I mean, they're almost the same guy. They do have like slightly different skill sets, but as far as like just a really athletic, rim protecting 7-footer who's a crazy lob threat. The Mavericks just didn't have that before last year, and now they just have 2 of them, and they gave up almost nothing to acquire them at all.
Well, everything came with
Grant
price.
Williams.
Well, who they gave up a first to get, and then they traded him with a first, which is funny in its own right. But no, I mean, you don't. You made the finals. Who cares?
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. Like they've
Um,
both had. I mean, they both had great seasons and great playoff runs, and they've really like changed the dynamic of this team. And
They-
this whole time, like that's what we've been begging for the Mavs to put next to Luka is like, get him a lob threat, get him some rim protection. There it is. And
And let's
yeah,
not forget,
worked.
they bought extremely low on their second best player, Spencer Dinwiddie, and Dorian Finney-Smith. Who Dorian Finney-Smith had like a fucking career like worst shooting year after that, and Spencer Dinwiddie got bought out and was on a minimum for the Lakers and shot like 30-something% from the field.
Din Shitty Island.
Real.
Love it.
Like those
Yeah.
two players
They
and
gave
2
up
picks.
1 first-round pick for.
Was it
Kyrie.
1?
I mean, they gave up like a couple second rounders, but
I mean, that's crazy. Was it even
It's 3
unprotected?
picks total, 1 first in 2021.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. I
it's
mean, I mean
what an
that's.
inspirational journey.
I mean, obviously, you can look at that and say that that built the foundation, like for obvious reasons. But like, I don't know. I I spoke about it a lot. I think at the beginning of this podcast, actually, when I talked about around the draft, teams need to be more willing to just move on from some shit and just pivot for the betterment of your franchise. I think I was speaking about the Hawks in particular with the John Collins thing. Um, but on a larger scale, okay, we spent a lot to get Porzingis in Dallas. It did not work out. But we're not just going to hold on to him and hold on to him. They traded him to Dallas, or to Washington, rather. Um, and it looked bad at the time. Like, obviously, it was not a bad look. But hey, they bit the bullet. They got Spencer Dinwiddie in that trade, who was great for them, and who they then subsequently traded for Kyrie Irving. Um, the assets that they got from that moved in this trade. Like, they've done a really good job of like weathering the storm that they've been through the last few years. Offloaded a boatload of shit to get Porzingis to pair him with Luka. It didn't work out. They pivot, they get Kai, they miss the fucking playoffs. They come back this year, they get Grant Williams, it doesn't work. We're gonna flip him into two really good players who are now helping us. They drafted extremely well.
Yeah.
Getting
Granted,
Derek
I do
Lively.
think that the Derek Jones and the PJ Washington thing were really kind of misses. Like it's good for them and for the team that they're playing well right now, but I don't really think they were like the best possible players you would want to put in this position.
I mean, you have to think about who's available. Like,
No, I don't disagree. I'm just saying like for a team that has like high level playoff and like potentially like championship aspirations, wouldn't necessarily want Derek Jones as my starting small forward. Let's just be.
but they're in the finals with
No,
that.
they are. I'm
Like,
just saying, like from a team
that's
building perspective, like it wasn't perfect. Like,
at the end of the
Mavericks.
day, you can't look at names. I mean, at the end of the day, like he played well all season. He gave them exactly what they needed all season. That they have a winning formula and it's built on the back of their two best players, but he's part of that too. And PJ Washington, you can, I can't speak for their front office, but maybe they look at a guy like him in Charlotte for years where, he had flashes where he had a couple of really good high scoring games. He had that one game where he hit like 10 threes or 11 threes or something like that. He had like 44 points. Um, Point being that is good, you know, front office management, like looking at guys, because they blew a lot of assets the last couple years. If you're able to look at guys like this in other situations and say, I think you would thrive here. Like they got Derek Jones Jr. for the minimum and he's starting for them. And you could it's
Yeah, I just mean from the perspective
obviously
of like he's not a 40% 3-point shooter and he's shooting 40% from three in the playoffs. Like that's all I'm saying. Like
I mean he just is now potentially. Like I don't know.
I don't think he is.
But sure, nobody is something until they are. This team was not a finals team in your mind until they made the finals.
I mean, yeah,
players are not
40%
shooters until
again. All I'm saying is it's not just like just because they make the finals doesn't mean that every move they made was good the whole time.
I mean, getting him for the minimum is objectively good.
I'll leave it there.
How?
What do you mean how? I have nothing left to say. I'll leave it at that.
Hey man,
What a story for the Mavericks. It's funny you say that they weren't a finals team until they were. It still doesn't feel like they're a finals team, but here we are. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, regardless of how I feel about them, they're in the finals.
yeah, they are.
That's what I mean. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, they won. Like that's
Yeah.
nobody is something or nobody has done something until they do it. Like that's how it goes.
Yeah.
Joel Embiid wasn't an MVP until he won the MVP, and now, there's whole different conversations about him. Or
Yeah.
Jokic, or you
Celtics
might
in
have
5, I think.
yeah. Without that being said,
Yeah.
A very very lovely story.
I give
Man,
it 6.
I don't know. You
I want the
6 is
Mavericks
fair
to win
too.
though.
So, yeah, I don't know. The thing is,
I need the Mavericks to win actually.
What I want and what I think will happen are not the same thing.
Yeah,
the
I need them
thing
to
I
win,
kind
but
of want the
they really
Mavericks to
shouldn't.
win too. But the thing
They
is,
really
this
shouldn't win.
Celtics team is just such a fucking buzzsaw, man. I don't even. They've looked like the best team in the NBA since they traded for Porzingis, and they never stopped looking like that all year. Um, in the playoffs, no one even like sniffed them without their arguable second best player. Um, I don't listen, man. All power to Luka the Don Doncic, whatever the fucking thing our friend says. This is a very very uphill battle. Make no mistake, especially with Porzingis back. This is gonna be hard. If they could, hey, look, if they can do it, what a run! Am I right? Well, it'd be unbelievable if they could do it. But
One
oh
of the
man, I
best
do
runs
not.
ever. Like I would be very confident saying that if they knock off this Boston team, that would be easily one of the best runs ever.
How crazy would
What
that be?
I mean, by certain metrics, this Celtics team is like one. They would be like one of the three best teams to never win a ring this year of the Celtics. Just by like how strong they were all year. Um, and if it's Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, that would be pretty fucking funny, wouldn't it?
Oh
Um,
yeah, yeah. There would be a lot of great conversations.
If the Mavericks
yeah,
franchise, 13 years apart, won two of the most like impossible, spectacular championships ever.
yeah. I mean, this one would be even crazier than the last one, honestly.
Yeah,
You
Like,
think this is
because
crazy?
as
This is
given the
as
easy.
quality of teams that they played, like they
yeah,
would be beating the top 3 teams in net rating for the year.
yeah, like the like LeBron's Heat that first year, they were good. They were not as good as the Celtics team. And
Hmm.
man, hey, good luck to those guys. I think they're gonna need it.
Yeah,
I suppose that'll do her then.
yeah.
Yeah, right.
So what do we have for a final prediction count? Uh, not your hope, but
I'll
what you
start
actually think
Boston
will
in
happen.
6.
5.
Yeah, I fear I have to say 5. Mavericks fans, I am so desperately rooting for you though.
Unfortunately, I don't know. The Celtics have too many frauds for me to think that they'll lose under 2 games.
I'm up here like Stephen A. Luca gonna get you one.
Luke,
Yeah,
I think Luka's gonna get him
he
one.
he will get
Kyrie's
you
gonna
one.
get him
I'm
one.
not sure if he gets you two.
Yeah.
No, I think each of them get them one, and then they'll get
You know what?
blasted the rest
The
of them.
thing is, if he gets them two, he might get them three. You know what I mean? And then the three is right next to 4, and so you're basically there. But if you need more than one first, it's complicated.
Maybe they just shit the bed.
The
Oh,
Celtics,
Like what
do
if?
you know how much I need that? I need that more
Like-
than anything, actually.
Like what if they just
that would be
come
like maybe the best team ever to shit the bed. That would be awesome.
what if what if?
What does shitting the bed mean to you? Is that like getting swept?
If they get swept, yeah. I
No,
mean, no.
that would never
Even
happen.
if they lose in anything less than 7, like that's shitting. The
If
bed.
if
Yeah,
they
I-
get swept, like Joe Mazzulla's head would be on like a pike.
Yeah,
outside of fucking Harvard.
I
he
genuinely
would
think
probably
if they-
deserve it.
I genuinely think if they lost the series and it's not a 7-game series, I think that is genuinely
I'm so
shitting the bed.
serious. I'm so serious. Like, were they? This won't happen. But were they to get swept? Like, any of us in here could coach the Celtics to like 2 wins in this playoff series. Like, there's really not a lot of coaching that needs to be done here.
Yeah, I mean, you don't really have to. They're the Celtics. They're just the Celtics. Like,
Oh,
I don't know.
but
If-
oh boy, do I
if
do
they-
I.
Hey, let's have my first team all defense defenders plural go harass their guards, and have my genius rim protecting big man go protect the rim, and have my all NBA forwards plural go play with the ball. Guys, go get him. Let's win. 1, 2, 3 team.
Luka
probably
Doncic
win-
is,
probably win at
is
least one
really
at home.
good at basketball. Joe Mazzulla, get him,
Yeah.
man. If the Dallas Mavericks sweep the Boston Celtics, I will fly to Cancun.
I'd start saying some insane shit about Luka, bro.
and
The
party.
conversations I'd
Mavericks
put
sweep
Luka
the
in.
Boston
Oh
Celtics.
my
I will get
fucking
my head
days.
shaved on the next episode of this podcast. I
I
promise.
will. I will.
I swear to
shave-
God, I'll shave the whole shit, bro. Do you have any idea? I've been growing this out for like a year and a half. I swear, you know what? If the Celtics win less than 2 games, if it's 4-1, gentleman sweep or a proper sweep, all off. Promise. Whole thing.
I'm about to send some of those poison pizzas they gave to MJ in Utah.
Yeah.
I'm about to
those
send
work?
a complimentary pizza to. Okay, none of them are like that. I'm about to send a complimentary pizza to every Celtics player.
Oh man.
All right. Well, I suppose we should get up out of here then.
Yep.
Thank you all for listening. If you made it this far, we really appreciate it. The next time you hear from us, probably
The
gonna
Boston
be
Celtics will be up 2-0.
Yeah, I would say there's a good chance the next time you hear from us, the series is concluded. But if not, maybe we'll have something to be really happy about, or some real doomer shit, and we'll just be on here analyzing.
I'll say it right now. If the Mavericks win, we'll make a celebratory episode. I will celebrate for sure.
Hooray.
If the Mavericks win, I will go to New York. We will film
Oh,
in
that's
person.
Oh my God.
That's so huge.
On God.
Yeah,
My
you know you
God.
should come. Nate's coming in a few weeks.
Word? All right, let's talk about it
Yeah.
off camera. Let's talk about it off camera. All right, thank you guys for watching. If you made it this far, we appreciate it. Like, subscribe, share, put it on all the socials. You know what I'm saying? Love you guys. And whether this is the last episode before the end of the season or whatnot, it's been a great journey. And we just want to thank every single person who watched, shared, subbed, even you annoying little freaks who commented first on the last episode, because that shit was not funny at all. Appreciate you guys.
This was a little funny.
We appreciate you
Oh man.
very, very much more than we could ever tell you. So,
God bless.
all right.
Go
Get
Yankees.
up-
Deuce.